children, how are you? I hope you all are doing well and studying well. So children, as we all know, science tells us about everything that is in our nature. Not only what is surrounding us, but certain things that are there, are present, okay, beyond the earth, okay, in the universe, in the space beyond earth as well. So in this chapter, we are going to talk about the earth's natural satellite, our moon. Okay, that's the moon. The moon is our earth's closest neighbor in space. The moon is the earth's natural satellite. As the earth goes round the sun, the moon goes round the earth. Okay, unlike the earth, the moon has no atmosphere or no life. The surface of the moon is covered with big round hollows called craters. These craters are formed when pieces of rocks dash into the surface of the moon. Okay? The surface is rough and uneven. The moon's age is same as the earth. Okay? Craters of the moon can be easily seen with a telescope. So, moon is very close to the earth. Like the way earth rotates, revolves around the sun, okay, it goes around the sun, the moon goes around the earth, okay, and there is no atmosphere on the moon, okay, there is no life on the moon, it is not possible, okay, but there are certain hollows on the surface of the moon. The surface of the moon is covered with big round hollows. Now, these hollows are known as the craters. And these craters, they are formed when pieces of rocks, they dash into the surface of the moon. Okay. Now, the surface of the moon is rough, it is uneven. The moon's age, okay, the moon's age is as same as the earth, and craters can be easily seen through a telescope. So, children, the moon, it does not have its own light, okay. Although we do say we are sitting under the moonlight and all, but it does not have its own light, okay. Where does this light come from? It shines because it reflects the light of the sun that falls on it. So, when the moon is rotating around the earth, okay, or revolving around the earth, that time the light of the sun that falls on the moon, okay, it shines, and that is what it's reflected, okay. So, it appears of the same size as that of the sun, because the moon is closer to us. So, if you look, sometimes you feel that the sun and the moon are of the same size. This is because they are closer to us, okay. Now, the moon's light which we see from the earth, okay, is the light of the sun. Actually, it's the light which it gets from the sun and reflects, okay. The part of moon facing the earth gets sunlight depending on the position of the sun. Different areas of moon reflect light to us on different days. So, it is all depending on the position of the sun that the areas of the moon, different areas of the moon, they reflect the light to us, okay, on different days. And that is why the moon, okay, appears to change its shape every day. Actually, it is the position of the sun that's changing, and that is the reason why the shape of the moon is changing according to the light that is reflecting on it. Now, the different shapes of the moon as visible to us on the earth are called its phases. Okay, they are known as the phases of the moon. Different shapes of the moon are full moon, new moon, crescent and gibbous. Okay, so these are the different shapes of the moon: full moon, new moon, crescent and gibbous. Okay. So, if you look at the diagram, you will see the different phases of the moon. Okay. New moon when it is totally dark, crescent is when there is little, when it gets a little brighter, then half moon is half bright, half dark. Okay. Gibbous is 3/4 bright and 1/4 dark, and full moon is when it is completely white, okay, or we can see it as completely in a light, okay. Now, there is no air or water on the moon, so there is no life on it, okay. We already know that people have gone to the moon, okay, they have stepped on the moon, they have found out that there is no air, there is no water on the moon. In the absence of no air, okay, in the absence of air, no sound can be heard. It means that you cannot talk to your friend on it, okay, because he will not be able to hear the sound. The force of gravity of the earth, it pulls us back on the ground. So, because of the gravity, we are able to stand on the ground. But the force of gravity on the moon is 1/6 of the gravity of the earth. So, we can say that the gravity of the earth is 6 times more than that of the moon. So, that is why on moon you can lift objects easily. That would be too heavy for you to lift on the earth. That is because of the gravity, okay. It is 1/6 of that on the earth. So, heavy objects that you will not be able to lift on earth, okay, you can easily lift them on the moon, okay. That is why people float on the moon. They are not able to stick themselves to the ground, okay. The gravitational pull is not there. So, people keep on floating, okay. So, on the moon you can lift objects easily. That would be too heavy for you to lift on the earth. If you can jump 1 meter on the earth, you can jump 6 meters on the moon, okay. If you weigh 30 kilograms on the earth, you would only weigh 5 kilograms on the moon. So, due to gravity, the moon pulls water from seas and oceans towards itself, okay. This is called tide. So, that is the gravity of the moon. Due to gravity, the moon is able to pull the water from seas and oceans towards itself. This is called tide. Now, there are 2 types of tides. One is the high tide and one is the low tide. So, in 1961, Yuri Gagarin of Russia, okay, he became the first human to go into the space, into the outer space. 8 years later, on 21st July 1969, American spacecraft Apollo 11 landed successfully on the moon. Neil Armstrong, he became the first person to step on the moon. So, because of the gravity of the earth, okay, it leads to the moon, it starts pulling water towards it from the seas and ocean. Now, this is known as tide. So, we know that there are certain time of the day when it is a high tide and certain time of the day when it is a low tide. That is because of the effect of the or the pull of the moon or the gravity of the moon. Now, Neil Armstrong, he was the first person to land on the to step on the moon. Okay. Yuri Gagarin of Russia, he was the first person, first human to go to the outer space. Okay. Then American spacecraft Apollo 11, it landed safely on the moon, and Neil Armstrong, he was the first person to step on the moon. Okay. Eclipses. Now, what are eclipses? Light travels in a straight line. So, if you stand in the sunlight, you block the path of the light and your shadow is formed. Okay. So, try standing in a sunlight. Okay. You will be in between the sun. Okay. So, that is why your shadow will form on the opposite direction of where you are standing. Okay. Because you are blocking the path of the sun and the light. Okay. So, if you stand in sunlight, you block the path of the light, and that is why your shadow is formed. In the same way, the moon and the earth, they cast huge shadows in space. So, that is when lunar eclipse occurs. Now, how does a lunar eclipse occur? Due to whose shadow? A lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, okay, when the sun, the earth and the moon are in a straight line. Sun, earth, moon are in a straight line, okay, and the earth. Now, the earth comes between the sun and the moon. Okay. Lunar eclipse can be total or partial. So, when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, that is when lunar eclipse occurs. Now, lunar eclipse can be total or it can be partial. Okay. When the earth's shadow covers the moon completely. So, because Earth is coming in between the sun and the moon, the shadow of the Earth that falls on the moon, okay, if it completely covers the moon, then it is a total lunar eclipse. So, if it covers the moon only partially, okay, only some part of the moon gets covered, then we have a partial lunar eclipse. Now, the eclipse lasts only as long as the moon is in the shadow of the Earth. So, as long as the shadow falls on the moon of the Earth, okay, lunar eclipse stays. The eclipse may be as short as a few minutes or as long as a few hours. Now, solar eclipse. What is a solar eclipse? Now, a solar eclipse occurs when the sun, Earth and moon, they are in the straight line, okay, and now the moon comes in between the sun and the Earth. So, lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth comes in between the sun and the moon, whereas solar eclipse occurs when the moon comes in between the sun and the Earth, okay, and the shadow of the moon reflects. The rays of the sun cannot reach on the Earth. It means that the shadow of the moon casts on the Earth. When the sun is completely hidden by the moon, it is called total solar eclipse. When only a part of the sun is hidden, it is called partial solar eclipse. So, solar eclipse always occurs on a new moon day. So, whenever there is a new moon day, that's when the solar eclipse occurs. Okay, we should never look at the sun directly during a solar eclipse. It can damage the eyes, okay, because of the rays coming out. So, you can look at the diagram to figure out how it looks, okay. Now, try doing this activity. You take a basketball and a tennis ball. Place the basketball on the table and this will become the Earth, okay. Basketball becomes the Earth. Tie a string in a sling form around the tennis ball, okay. Now, place a powerful table lamp on other side. This lamp will represent whom? It will represent the sun and tennis ball will be the moon. Okay. So, now move the moon round the Earth till it comes to lie in the shadow of the Earth. Okay. So, now start moving the moon till it comes in between and becomes the shadow of the Earth. This will be the position in which a lunar eclipse occurs. If the position of basket and tennis ball, okay, they are interchanged, then it will show solar eclipse. Okay. Now, satellites. What is a satellite? It is a heavenly body that moves around a planet. Okay. Moon is the natural satellite of the Earth. Human beings have also made artificial satellites that revolve around the Earth in the space. So, humans have created artificial satellites also that revolve around the Earth, okay, in space. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik 1, which was launched by Russia on 4th October 1957, in which a dog Laika was sent for the first time to space. Aryabhat was the first satellite launched by India in the year 1975. Since then, a number of satellites like Bhaskar, Rohini, INSAT 1A, 1B and others, they have been the satellites sent by Indian scientists. Okay. Now, artificial satellites, they are very useful. How? Okay. They are useful for communication. They are useful for weather forecasting, to carry out studies of the Earth and its environment, okay, and to study the outer space. So, whatever communication happens is because of the satellites that are received, okay, because of the weather. The forecasting is also based on the signals received through the satellites, okay. Whatever changes are occurring in the environment are are figured out or are told to us, communicated to us through the satellites, okay. Now, let us revise the chapter. The moon, it is the natural satellite of the Earth, okay. There is no life on the moon as there is no air or water. The gravity on the moon is 1/6 of that on the earth. Tides, they are caused in the oceans due to gravitational pull of the moon. Neil Armstrong, first human to step on the moon. A lunar eclipse occurs only on a full moon day when the shadow of the earth falls on the moon. Solar eclipse occurs on a new moon day, okay, when the shadow of the moon falls on the earth. Artificial satellites are very useful in communication, weather forecasting, etc. Okay. Now, let's do the exercise quickly. Take the correct option. A person who goes into space is called astronomer, astronaut, astrologer, or geologist is the astronaut. There is no life on moon as it does not have air and water, air and fire, fire and water, air and land. It is because of no air and water. The closest neighbor of the earth in space is Sun, Jupiter, Mercury. A moon, it is the moon. When the moon comes between the sun and the earth, then lunar eclipse occurs, solar eclipse occurs, tides are formed or satellites are launched. It is when the moon comes between the sun and the earth, then the solar eclipse occurs. Okay. Now, next, when the moon comes between the sun and the earth, then lunar eclipse occurs, solar eclipse occurs, tides are formed or satellites are launched, then the solar eclipse occurs. The first satellite launched by India, INSAT-1A, INSAT-1B, Aryabhat or Sputnik 1, it is the Aryabhat. One cannot hear any sound on the moon because of absence of atmosphere on moon, presence of air and water, presence of craters or presence of water. Okay, it is because of absence of atmosphere on moon. What are the changing shapes of moon called? Spaces, phases, surfaces or eclipse? It is known as the phases. The only heavenly body probed by human being is Jupiter, Saturn, Venus or moon. It is the moon. Okay. Now, fill in the blanks. The first satellite launched by India is Aryabhat. The closest neighbor of the earth in space is the moon. Life does not exist on moon as there is no atmosphere. Dash was the first person to step on the moon. It was Neil Armstrong. Okay. Solar eclipse occurs when the moon comes between sun and the earth. Lunar eclipse when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon. Aryabhat, okay, it's the first Indian satellite and Neil Armstrong was the first person to step on the moon. Okay, true or false? If your weight is 48 kg on the earth, you will weigh 8 kg on the moon? Absolutely true. It is 1/6. Okay, the light from the earth shines on the moon? Absolutely false. It's the light of the sun that shines on the moon. The moon is the artificial satellite to the earth? Yes. The highest tides occur during no moon night? It is true. The gravity on the moon is 1/8 of that on earth? No, it is 1/6. Different shapes of the moon as seen by us from the earth are called phases. The natural satellite of the earth is the moon. These are caused in the oceans due to gravitational pull. Those are the tides. The instrument by which the craters on the moon can be seen is the telescope, and big round hollows on the moon are called the craters. Okay. Now, take the correct option. Tides in the ocean are caused due to gravitational pull or mechanical pull of the earth. It is the gravitational pull. The first satellite launched by India in 1975 was Sputnik 1 or Aryabhat. It was Aryabhat. A person who goes into the space is astrologer or astronaut. It is the astronaut. The gravity of the moon is 1/6 or 1/8 on that on the earth. It is 1/6. Okay. Now, circle the odd one out. Jupiter, Earth, Saturn or moon? It is the moon because it is a satellite. Rest all are the planets. Laika, Rohini, Sputnik 1, Aryabhat, INSAT series. It is the Laika. Laika was the dog. Okay. Moon, lunar eclipse, Mercury or Earth. Which is the odd one here? It is the lunar eclipse. Neil Armstrong, Subhash Chandra Bose or Yuri Gagarin? It is Subhash Chandra Bose. Now, read the chapter and start writing the answers to these short answer questions and then the long answers also, okay. Why does the moon shine? You have to tell us about the why it shines, although it does not have light of its own, okay. If your weight on the earth is 36 kg, what will be your weight on the moon? Apply the formula of 1/6, okay. If you shout on the moon, nobody would be able to hear you. Why? Because the sound waves are not there, okay. Name the first man-made satellite. You have to name that satellite which was first man-made, okay. What are tides and how are they caused? Right, now, after this is the long answer questions. What are artificial satellites? How are they useful to us? What is it that artificial satellites can help us to do? Okay. How will solar eclipse occur? Okay. It is caused and you have to support your answer with the diagram. So, diagram of the solar eclipse, okay, with the positions of the earth and moon is what you have to draw. Write few lines about the surface of the moon, okay. What is moon made up of? What is the surface of the moon like? What is the difference between partial and complete lunar eclipse? And draw and explain the different phases of the moon. Now, critical thinking skills. India's first unmanned moon mission was launched on 14th November 2008. What is its name? It is known as the Chandrayaan-1. Find out how artificial satellites are sent to the space. They are sent with the help of rockets, okay. And you must have seen movies like Mission Mangal and you know, there are so many movies that are based on whatever the people, okay, working for ISRO or NASA are doing to reach to the outer space, okay. Case-based study. A satellite is a heavenly body that moves around a planet. Moon is the natural satellite of the earth. Human beings have also made artificial satellites that revolve around the earth in space. The first artificial satellite was Sputnik 1 launched by Russia on 4th October 1957, in which a dog Laika was first sent to the space. Aryabhat was the first satellite launched by India in 1975. Since then, a number of satellites like Bhaskar, Rohini, INSAT 1A, 1B and others have been sent by Indian scientists. Artificial satellites are very useful for communication, for weather forecasting, to carry out studies of the earth and its environment, to study the outer space. Okay? Now, which artificial satellite was sent for the first time in the space? It was Sputnik 1. Which animal was sent to space for the first time? It was a dog. Which country sent first satellite in the space? It was Russia. Now, you have to write about the different uses of artificial satellite. Okay? Life skills. Solar and lunar eclipses are the phenomenon that occur regularly. It is advised not to see solar eclipse with naked eye. Why is it so? As sun's rays, okay, this is because the sun's rays are very powerful and they can damage your eyes. So, can the use of sunglasses or smoked glasses and films eliminate the danger? Yes, okay, but you have to find out which one are the appropriate ones that can be used. Let's do something new. Draw figures of solar eclipse and lunar eclipse on a chart paper to be put up on the classroom wall. Okay. Name the organization that conducts space research in India. Also make a list of satellites launched by this organization. It's the ISRO. Okay. You have to name the satellites that they have launched. Okay. Now, explore. India has sent the first unmanned spacecraft Chandrayaan-1 on a scientific mission to moon. Find out with what objectives it was sent and how much work it has completed and what are the major breakthroughs, and have you heard about Mars Orbiter Mission MOM, and you have to collect the information about it. But before you explore and find out all this information about different things, okay, which are so interesting, you please reread the chapter, okay, complete all the exercises and do the activities and then get on to this. All right, children, get going.